Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. We have several hours until Travis Smith announces today. I know everyone's excited about that. It will be at about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we will be live streaming that. We'll probably start that stream up at about 7:20. I think I have it scheduled for like 7:25, but we might start a little bit earlier, just so that everyone knows. We hope that everyone can join us for that. So we're gonna do something just to kind of pass the time by, right? Let's take a look at those Smokey Gray jerseys in today's video, and then we'll also be taking a look at our football team in fall camp. What do we need to see to feel comfortable heading into the 2024 season? Y'all already know. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump into it. These are our Smokey Grays. Okay, these are the new ones. They look good to me. You see the TriStar is on one of the sleeves. It looks like that's the left sleeve. That's definitely dope. There's a whole lot of Tennessee, like state of Tennessee references. You see the says Tennessee on the front of the jersey. That's kind of a different font. I think that it looks good. You can also tell if you look like at the stripe on top of the helmet, that's kind of like a part of the flag, right? I think there's something to do with like symbolizing Tennessee state flag. So again, it's just a whole lot of that in here. And then we'll also get to see the TriStar, I believe, on the back of the helmet. But the biggest thing for me is look at Caleb Herring right here. This is what 6'5", 250 looks like. I'm very impressed with the way that he's put himself together. Y'all already know. Here it is. All right, so this is what I was talking about, right? With the TriStar on the back of the helmet. I mean, I think that they look good, right? I don't really have any complaints. I like pretty much all of our jersey combinations. I think that dark mode is still my favorite, but y'all let me know y'all's thoughts down in the comment section. All right, y'all. Now for fall camp, I want for y'all to imagine that I'm up on campus. I'm in practice right next to Coach Heupel with some glasses on that can live stream practice. These are the things that I feel like we should all be looking for in fall camp to feel comfortable that this team can kind of build off of what we did in 2022 and take it that next step further, make it into the playoffs, maybe even win a national title. And it's going to start off with pass protection. This offense, this entire team is going to go as far as, the offense is able to produce. And that really is all about just giving the quarterback time. I think that it doesn't necessarily matter too much who the quarterback is in this offense, but obviously having a guy like Nico Iamaleava, who won't be perfect, but he is going to be a baller. He's going to make plays. Giving him time is going to be huge. If you look back to the big games that we lost, it was because we didn't do a great job in pass protection. The quarterbacks just did not have that time. But whenever I'm talking about this, I'm talking about, starting off in the middle of our offensive line. That's where we have struggled at the most. Whenever we get pressure up the middle, and I would say probably any other offense, but for some reason in our offense, it tends to affect us a little bit more. The pressure up the middle is going to be deadly. How does the interior of that offensive line look? And obviously, we could talk about who's going to be that left guard. I think it's going to be Shem Umarov. We'll talk about him some more in just a second. But Cooper Mays, I mean, he's been here for a very long time. Then obviously Spraggs, he's been here for a super long time as well. Those guys might not get too much burn. Same thing could be said about a John Campbell. But whenever they do get those opportunities, how do they look going up against our defensive line is going to be a good gauge of what they're going to be able to do versus other SEC lines. If they can block our line, then they should be able to block anybody because we're different body types, speed, all that type of stuff. So that's the first part of it. And then outside of that, I want to see how we do with the offensive tackles. It seems like since Coach Heupel has been up on campus, we've struggled a little bit more with that speed rush. So how do the tackles, Lance Hurd and John Campbell, look up against a good speed rush? I think that that's going to be very important for this team moving forward. And then outside of that, let's talk about the running backs because the running backs have got to do a good job of pass protection. This is huge. We talk about this so much. Is Dylan Sampson going to be able to get it done finally? Hopefully so. If he can, and if he does, then I think that this team is going to go very, very far. You could also kind of throw the tight ends into that mix as well, but I think that they do a good job of pass blocking. I've seen them so far, but that would be the first thing that I'm looking for. How do we look? How do we gel as an entire unit up front blocking for Nico? Can we give him that time? If we can do that, then I think that the sky is the limit for this team. The next thing is going to be run blocking. Now, this is a run first team, but I had to put pass blocking first. But run blocking, if we look good in that aspect, then we're going to be great, right? If you look at, again, any of the games that we lost, we were held up under 100 yards rushing and sometimes less than that, like up under 80 yards. And that's just unacceptable. We cannot have that. We've got to be able to run early and often. And I think that we can definitely do it this year, right? This is part of the reason that I wanted to have Shamrod Umarov starting at left guard because the guards have to be able to get up to the second level. Seems like we struggle with that, especially up against those odd man fronts. We're going to see that in the second game of the season versus NC State. So that'll be a really good test as to, have we got this thing figured out? But having a guy that's more athletic and also big, right? I mean, Sham is 6'7", 330 pounds, but he can move around like a guard. If he's able to get up to the second level and kind of wall guys off, and we can, I would say run for about 4 yards a carry. If that's the average, if it's anything over that this season, then this team is going to be in great shape to definitely make it into the playoffs. I think that that's all that we need. And I feel like we can do that. But obviously, whenever you look at the rest of the offensive line, all these veterans, the center Cooper Mays, we know probably won't be getting too many reps, but whenever he does get his opportunities, how does he look? Right next to him, we have Sprags, who is another really good run blocker. He's another veteran, and then we also have John Campbell at right tackle, who's another great run blocker. Typically, the right side of the offensive line is going to be more of the run blocking side. But again, back to Sham Umarov being at left guard for us, having a guy next to him at left tackle and Lance Hurd, who's a phenomenal run blocker. He might actually end up being the best run blocker on this whole team. Now you're saying, okay, we can run to the right or to the left. It doesn't matter. And we've just got a great run blocking offensive line. I think that that would be so huge, so critical, just for the momentum of this season early on, and also, towards the end of it. That's when you really need to be able to establish that run game whenever the weather's not good, right? We saw that versus UGA, I think back in 22, right? And maybe in a couple of other games. When that weather's bad, this offense, I mean, we've got to find a way to run. So that's going to be very critical. And sticking with the theme of the run, let's talk about the running backs at number 3. They need to be able to get what's given. The plus is then some, okay? And not all the time, but at least be able to get what's there. We just talked about the offensive line creating those lanes. They should have 4 to 5 yards of room, right? Like they should be able to get us 4 to 5 yards on any given carry. But if you can get to the second level and start to hit those home runs, or if you can just kind of like run through tackles, right? If you can do those little things on a consistent basis, if you can get the first down if it's a 3rd and 1, stuff like that. If we're able to do that, if the running backs are showing that they can do that on a consistent basis in fall camp, yes, man. I mean, this team is going to be almost impossible to stop. Next to number 4, we're going to be talking about the wide receivers making tough catches. We've got to look out for this because if you want to go far in the SEC, you got to be able to do this, okay? Especially in those big games, because the referees aren't going to call them in big games and in those big moments. They don't want the game to be determined off of penalties. So we've got to be able to make those catches. There's a whole lot of secondary units in this league that are not afraid to be overly physical. So that's huge, right? Like we talked about it at the end of last season. We said, look, this unit has got to do a much better job of, even if there's no separation, of making these tough catches. And I love to see Coach Pope kind of teaching to those points in spring camp. So I know that it's going to be very highly emphasized over fall camp as well. And, I feel like we can get it done. At this point in the list, y'all, really just the top 3. If we take care of the top 3, this is more than likely a playoff team. And I would be willing to say, even not even talking about the defense yet, this is probably going to be a championship caliber team. But on to number 5, we will start to talk about the defense. The linebackers need to be everywhere, okay? I want to see them flying around the field, but at the same time doing it with discipline. I don't want to necessarily see them overrunning plays like we saw last season. I want to know that they can get into their run fits well, but also they need to do a much better job in pass coverage. I think that they will. This is one of the most athletic linebacking cores that we've had in a very long time. It's definitely the best that Coach Heupel has had since he's been on campus. So our defense is going to take a huge step forward just because of the linebackers, but I want to see it because last season, I mean, look, Keenan Pili goes down after that first game. He looked great in that first game, but some of these young guys, Arion Carter, Jeremiah Telander, they looked a step slow. They were very willing to get in to make plays, but they just looked a step slow. So with them losing that weight, are they going to look a lot more athletic? And then who else is going to step up for you? Is there going to be a guy like Caleb Perry that comes in and kind of plays with that extra dog, that extra fight that we need for him to do? If he does, then now we've got some more depth. What about Edwin Spillman? Can he pick things up? Because I think that he looks about prototype of what we want our linebackers to be. And then what does Jordan Burns look like once he gets up on campus? Also, Jalen Smith, has he gotten better? So I'm definitely going to be watching this linebacker core. I want guys that are fast, physical, and very willing to make plays. So that's going to be huge for the success of this team. Next at number 6, can't give up any deep balls. That's my biggest concern. And I think that we've done a good job of that, pretty much up under Coach Banks. His scheme is going to dictate that that doesn't happen. We're going to play a lot of zone. Well, we have played a lot of zone. I'm expecting this season for us to play a lot more man, even if it's just man under. If we have an issue with the safeties, man under just basically means that the cornerbacks, everyone up underneath the safeties is playing man, and the safeties are just playing over the top. It just kind of like protects from those deep passes while also kind of creating some smaller windows. Anyway, not to go too far off on the scheme and stuff like that, but that's what I'm really looking forward to. I think that our cornerbacks are going to do a great job of that. Whenever we talk about Ricky Gibson, whenever we talk about Jamal McCoy, we say, hey, these guys are staying on top of the routes on a very consistent basis. But what do guys like Jalen McMurray and Jordan Matthews do? Are they going to be able to stay on top of the routes? Because they were the ones that seem to kind of struggle with that. So I want to see it consistent throughout the entire secondary unit, not just with the corners, but also with the stars and with the safeties, especially if we're going to be playing more man-to-man coverage. I think that if we show that we can stay on top, we will see a lot more man-to-man coverage, and that's going to bode very well for our Volunteers this season. Now, the last thing, okay, at number 7, I want for the safeties to be enforcing. They need to be enforcers. What I mean by that is if it's a run, okay, if there's a lane for them to fill in run support, get up there right here, right now, and deliver a blow, right? Like it doesn't have to be a dirty hit, but enforce and inflict pain on the imposing teams. That's what we have got to do because you want to kind of start to play some bully ball, okay? Especially because the offense gets off to good starts. Okay, we're way ahead, and now their offense is trying to fight back. We've got a phenomenal pass rush. We haven't even talked about that. I don't feel like we even need to because that's a given. That's there. Okay, so pass rush is getting after the quarterback. They're getting sacked. We start to kind of dial up some blitzes with a very athletic linebacking core. And just imagine if they're inside of Neyland, it's rocking, it's loud. All of a sudden, everything kind of starts to close in on you. The thing that could take it over the edge is having some players come downhill and enforce and inflict pain. I need to see that, but I also need to see them, being enforcers just as far as in pass coverage, and not necessarily with the big hits and things like that, but just in being there. Sometimes the wide receivers just need to hear those footsteps or feel that presence. If they can do that on a consistent basis, then man, I'm telling y'all, this team, right? If everything happens that we just talked about on this list, if we're seeing that while we're out at fall camp on a consistent day in, day out basis, I think that this team will win a national title. I'm not being a homer when I say that. Y'all have got to know that this team, these schemes, everything, it's built perfectly. This could be our year, but we have to see it. It starts right here in fall camp. But y'all let me know y'all's thoughts down in the comment section. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We hope to see everyone tonight at about 7:20. Go Big Orange. We'll see y'all in just a minute. Thanks. Peace.